Hello, we're live. My name is Jamie J. I'm the CEO and founder of Bottleneck Distant Assistance, where I help stop the bottleneck in your business. And hopefully we're going to be able to do that today. We have two wonderful gentlemen that are going to be joining us today. We have Russ Lindmark and Andy Charles. And we're going to go into a little bit more about how they're going to help you stop the bottleneck as soon as we get back in about 38 seconds. All right, stay tuned. Hello. My name is Jamie J. I'm the CEO and founder of Bottleneck Distant Assistance. This is Live with Bottleneck, where we help stop the bottleneck in your business. We're not here to talk about me, maybe a little bit. No, not much. Maybe towards our end. Today, we're here to talk about something I think is pretty dang cool, helping businesses and nonprofits reduce operating expenses. We're going to be talking with Andy Charles and Russ Lindmark. Andy is the owner of Central Avenue Advisors, and Russ, the founder of a company called Optimally. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, Optimally. And why, oh, why can these two help you stop the bottleneck in your business? Well, let me share that with you. Andy says, after studying engineering and serving the Navy Submarine Service, Andy worked in senior manufacturing management roles before buying and operating an iconic Maine chocolate company. He now focuses on helping organizations grow through expense reduction. And Russ Lindmark is the founder of Optimally. Russ has focused on expenses management technology for the past dozen years and has saved businesses over $150 million through the development and deployment of benchmarking and big data tech. Throughout his career, Russ has founded multiple software startups with highlights including 3 separate companies reaching $20 million in revenue each and 4 exit with an enterprise value of over $250 million. Russ has spent the last 25 viewing problems through the lens of opportunity. Surrounding himself with really talented people is the key to everything he builds. I love that. Fantastic. So without any further ado, please allow me to introduce you to Russ Lindmark and Andy Charles. How are you?
Really good. Hey. Thanks for having us.
Hey, thank you so much for stopping by. Incredible backgrounds there. And we had talked in the green room. Normally I don't have 3 people on. Normally it's just one, so it's pretty straightforward for me. So Andy, I've known, had a couple conversations with him, and Andy has been so kind to step up to the hosting mic and do the introduction and tell you a little bit of a story about Russ. If that's okay, Andy, can you start off telling us a little bit about you and your background, and then if you can kindly introduce Mr. Lindmark here.
Sure thing, Jamie. Yeah, and super glad to be here. I'm excited. I think what you do in your business and what I do and what Russ's company does are all pretty well aligned. So I am an expense reduction advisor, and my focus is on helping organizations grow through expense reduction or generate new streams of revenue, streamline, optimize, create efficiencies. And I work with a handful of world-class partners who help execute on that. And a mutual colleague introduced me to Russ's company last year, and I was instantly over the moon excited because what Optimally is doing is something that small and medium-sized businesses have never had access to before now. You know, think about it. If you were going to buy a house, you'd go to Zillow. If you were going to buy a car, you'd go to Auto Trader or Edmunds or whatever, because all the data is there. You know if you're getting a fair deal. If you operate a business, you don't have access to those same kind of resources, or at least you didn't until now, which is what Russ can talk about when he comes up. So, you know, really what this is about is helping companies figure out how to do better. The model is so cool because nobody gets paid until value has been delivered. I don't know about you, but I worked in corporate America. You know, you get the consultants in, you write them a big check, they go away, they come back and give you a big thick binder, which goes up on the shelf and never gets looked at again. This ain't that. This is about how can we help, let's deliver value, show you results, and after you've actually realized the benefit, then there's a cost sharing agreement. So, you know, Optimally can help virtually any organization, for-profit, nonprofit, municipalities, school systems, churches, anybody who has expenses. And my practice is national, really, North America. But I was literally at the podiatrist today. My wife has been telling me for years I'm a little imbalanced. Turns out she was right. So I was there getting these custom things to go in my shoes. But at the end of the visit, we took a half hour and pitched Optimally to the doctor. And he's excited. He's going to have Optimally's team run an analysis, and he wants to bring it to other people he knows in the medical industry. It's literally that seamless. So I'm really excited for you to hear from Russ and hear the story of what he's got going on over there. And I'm also very grateful, Russ, because I know you've had a big week. In the last few days, you've had one daughter get married and another one graduate from college, right?
Well, one daughter get married and one go to orientation for college. So we're about to be empty nesters.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. My wife's been telling me the same thing about being unbalanced. She's never recommended a doctor as the solution.
Well, ours should probably not consult with each other.
Probably not a good idea.
Well, Russ, you want to give us a little bit of background about who you are and what you're doing and kind of maybe what you're up to now?
Sure.
It sounds like it's some new adventures are on the horizon.
Yeah, the empty nest adventure for sure. But no, I mean, as you said at the beginning, spent the last 25 years building businesses. So I'm somewhere on the spectrum between being a serial entrepreneur and being just terminally unemployable. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. But the last dozen years, I've really focused on expense reduction, and that was born out of my own companies that I was building, and the realization that you don't really pay attention to a lot of your expenses when you're trying to grow a business. You're focused on the top line growth, et cetera. So we've started working on technology about a dozen years ago, focused mostly on shipping expenses. And that's where we discovered the power of benchmarking technology that allows you to compare your own expenses to the expenses of thousands of like businesses. And we sold that business in 2018, but I'd always had this idea that I wanted to try to do it more broadly than just one expense category. So really the last couple of years have been spent really trying to just get the data together to be able to make meaningful benchmarking analysis of any business in any industry across all of their expenses. And really the last 9 months have come out of the beta and into the operational phase of that. And we're just blown away by the results and the impact that we're able to have on what is now 140 plus customers, thanks to people like Andy.
Yeah, I want to say I when I first heard about this from Andy, at first I was like, wait, what is this? And I hadn't really heard of anything. And the more I looked in, I'm like, man, that is pretty dang cool. How awesome is that? I think it's fantastic that you're able to go in, based on my understanding. Obviously, hopefully you'll be able to elaborate on this a bit.
Sure.
But I'm a business owner. I'm paying certain vendors all this money. Optimally can go in, analyze my costs, and reduce the amount, negotiate with my vendors on my behalf, and reduce my costs, and then whatever we save, we give you half of, or something like that. So we're still saving money.
That's exactly it. Yeah, you just nailed it. I mean, we're able to look at any business's expenses and compare them to like businesses. And like businesses don't necessarily mean businesses in the same industry. It's businesses of the same size in the same geography, whether it's in the same industry or not. But you, as Andy said, you go to buy a house, you know exactly what every house in the neighborhood has sold for, and the last time it was sold, and what they're worth today. That doesn't exist for business expenses, and we're able to impact that. And my goal is to change that. I mean, large businesses, enterprises, the billion-dollar businesses, they have procurement teams who are sitting on all the data they need to be able to go in and manage their expenses. Well, that doesn't exist for small and medium-sized businesses. So through the power of technology, which is the great leveler for everything, right? We're able to provide those same tools to small and medium-sized businesses. Then we take it a step further. Not only do we tell you where you're overpaying, but then we go in and impact those expenses. And we don't bill you anything until we're able to lower those expenses.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. This is an incredible opportunity for a brand new category design.
Yeah, that's the idea. Benchmarking as a service.
Benchmarking as a service.
That's it.
That's fantastic. Yeah, because I really don't know. Like, this is, if something like this could take over a whole bunch of this. This could become a monstrous category.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I think it should. I think that was the promise of the internet, right? And it certainly played out that way for consumers. Now you can take any consumer product and you can go look at 30 different retailers and know exactly what they're charging you for it. That's never existed in business expenses.
I mean, how would we know? Right?
Yeah, I mean, the local internet provider can be charging, in a building with 10 businesses, they can be charging 10 different prices for the exact same bandwidth. I mean, that's, in my mind, that's not right. And that's really what this was born out of, was that frustration of not knowing whether what I was paying as a business was fair.
Boy, I wonder if we could check into some CRMs. Not mentioning any names, but may rhyme with Dub Pot, something like that. Yeah, I've seen so many different prices right there. And Andy, you're trying to share your screen. I think you can share your screen if you want. There should be a little icon.
I wanted to when there's a break in the action.
Yeah. Oh man, this is
you're going to have to take advantage of it. I tend to get very passionate about helping businesses save money, so feel free to interrupt me. Otherwise, I'll just keep going and going.
Well, I think that's something we share, Russ.
I know it is.
At my advanced age, generating income is, it's important, like it always is. But what really lights me up is helping companies and organizations do better. There's nothing that feels as good as when a client calls you up and says, "Thank you for showing me this. This has made our situation better." And if you do right by people, the money will flow. So that truly is what inspires me. So I've been working with Russ's company now for a while, and I'm kind of the go-between. I help introduce prospective Optimally clients to Optimally. So I see how the process works. And it is really impressive. I mean, I don't know if you were going to touch on this, Russ, but they have a lot of data, like $6 trillion worth of spending data across 10 million companies. And this is at the invoice level. So when they say they can benchmark just about anything, they really can. And every time they engage with a new analysis, that they anonymize the data and add that to the data lake, so it just keeps getting better. A lot of people will say, "Oh, we do a really good job. We're on top of things, and we've only got 3 vendors that would even be potentially negotiable." And people are almost always surprised by how many different categories of expenses there are. And this is an example. This is a high-level look. There's easily 100 different categories of expenses, but if you just kind of scan through this, and you'll notice that software is on that list, Jamie. Dubsnot's clone might indeed be something negotiable. But I don't think Optimally has seen a set of data yet where they didn't find some savings. Now, not every prospective client decides to engage. If it's $100 a year, thank you very much for the validation that we're doing a good job, but we're not going to invest literally 3 hours a year is all it takes. But what if it's 100,000? That's kind of interesting, right? That can be kind of exciting. And to the other point you made, Russ, one of my clients here in Florida is a local insurance agency. And when I talked to the chief operating officer there, I talked about what is Optimally, how does it work? And he said, every year at the beginning of the year, one of our goals is to reduce our operating expenses. And every year at the end of the year, we realize we didn't get to it. We're so focused on top line growth. And this is just another form of growth. It's growth through expense reduction. But here's a partner who can come in and act on your behalf to not only achieve the savings, but also be like an extra tool in your toolbox, at your elbow, looking over your shoulder, helping out, providing data and insights and reminding you about things you might overlook, like, hey, this contract's about to auto renew, and if you don't intervene, it's going to lock you in at a higher price. Let us help you with that. All those things really get to the bottom line, which is procuring more intelligently, reducing expenses, getting best-in-class pricing, and having access and visibility.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
Go ahead. I just have an idea because I'm thinking of you looking at your clients. The client is like the king, right? Or the queen. And there's this, who protects the king or the queen? All these knights. You're in essence the data knights coming to protect everybody, right? Because you're using data for the good. And this is stuff that you're an advocacy program for small businesses is basically what it is. And I think it's been fantastic for people to be able to save money through acquiring your services it's a no-brainer to me. It seems so forward. And what an opportunity.
Yeah, zero risk. And Andy alluded to this, and that's what I was about to say, is that we take on all of the lift of reducing the expenses. We don't require constant interaction. We're not in your conference room pulling your employees away from their jobs because presumably they have jobs, right? So there's a reason that we're completely hands-off. Andy said it, we need a few hours a year. We automate the flow of invoices to us. And after that, we go to work talking to your vendors. And the conversations with the vendors are not adversarial. We're armed with data. So we know what that internet provider is charging the other 9 businesses in your building, or at least some of them. And, so that conversation is really easy to have when it's data driven and it's not adversarial. So people worry about that. We're going to get their internet turned off. That's not how this works. The carriers are going to come pick up your packages. The internet provider is going to provide you with the internet. The insurance broker is going to continue to provide you with insurance.
Your hosting is going to cut you off.
Yeah, nobody's going to cut you off. We're just going to make sure that they're charging you what they should.
Yeah, that was a question I had swimming around in the back of my head. It's like, so do I have to call these people? Is Optimally calling them? And then how are they getting access to our accounts? Like all of that stuff.
Yep. So that's all handled during the onboarding process, which is about a 30 to 45-minute call where we run through the vendors, in a prioritized manner. Here are the ones we can go make the biggest impact on. Give us your last couple of invoices for these vendors, or if they have an online portal, give us credentials to get on and access the data ourselves. And from that point on, the only time we're interacting with the client, is coming back to them with, here's the new offer from your internet provider. Here's the savings. Here's if you had this offer in place for the last 12 months, here's what you would have saved. Do you want to move forward with this? Which, is usually met with yes. Now,
yeah.
Here's another vendor we'd love you to go talk to. Here's another vendor we'd love for you to go talk to. So we may start with 5 or 6, and inevitably we'll get down to, the running joke is around Optimally is that I'll spend $2 to go save a client $1. And some days that's true. I'm just that passionate. We're that passionate about impacting our clients' bottom line.
That's fantastic. This may sound like a strange question because it seems like the service is it's just fantastic every way around. But what are the biggest challenges with this service, do you think, and with Optimally?
You mean in terms of for Optimally or for the client engaging?
Yeah, maybe both. For Optimally, what's the biggest challenge, and what's the biggest challenge for the client?
Well, the biggest challenge for us so far has been the fact that, I've built 7 businesses. I underestimated how fast this was going to take off. Wow. So our biggest challenge has been adding and onboarding talent so that we can continue to grow and scale this business. But that's a really good problem to have. I mean, let's be honest, if that's your biggest problem as a business, you're doing okay. So from a client perspective, it's really that, we refer to a lot of this as tailspin, right? I mean, you don't a lot of these expenses you just look at as utilities, where the bill comes in every month, it gets approved and it gets paid, and there really is no process for reviewing it. So it's getting the client to think about what Andy alluded to, which is, if you drop $100,000 in savings to somebody's bottom line, that's $100,000 in additional profit, or that's $100,000 that they can go invest in those strategic initiatives that are really important to them. So it's just getting their attention long enough and helping them understand what that savings really amounts to, because there's nothing particularly sexy about lowering expenses, but there is something really sexy about, we've got these two strategic initiatives and we've got to decide whether we're going to focus on A or we're going to focus on B. This lets you focus on A and B and pour gas on them.
And if you're a CEO of a smaller firm, you found $100,000. Now you can send your daughter to college with confidence.
Yeah, there's that too.
Right. I'm on the outside looking in here, and the thing that I think is probably the biggest challenge is people think there must be a catch, because it's such a simple, and it's a win-win. Nobody gains unless everyone gains. But as human beings, we're over-spammed, over-hyped, over-pitched, and I think sometimes people are skeptical until they'll suspend disbelief for the 12 minutes that it takes to hear how the optimally model works. Once they do, most people are like, yeah, why not? The benchmarking doesn't cost you anything. It literally takes 2 or 3 minutes to generate the report and the data, and you're not obligated to anything. Sometimes people will say, well, some of my vendors are strategic relationships and I don't want to upset the apple cart there. That's fine. Once Optimally identifies where the opportunity is, the client still has complete control over which vendors actually are approached. And, if it's your mother-in-law and you don't want an awkward conversation at the Thanksgiving dinner table, then take that one off the list.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I do have a question, something popped in my head just now. So you work with small businesses, right? Do you work with entrepreneurs or like solopreneurs up to small businesses, like small business administration level small business, or what's the size of business? And the reason why is, how do we know if this could benefit us if we don't have a lot of vendors, for instance?
Sure. So, our smallest client, smallest in terms of their expenses, are just under $150,000, and the largest is just under $1 billion in expenses. So it fits all size businesses. And to Andy's point a second ago, I want to make sure that we're really clear on this. We don't charge anything until our client has actually saved money. So we renegotiate in June. They approve the renegotiation and the new offer from their vendor. They'll see the new billing take effect in July. We bill them in August for a percentage of the savings for just that month of July. And then we'll bill them each month, showing them where they save money. And so it's always in arrears. The money is always back in our client's pocket before we bill them anything.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It really is. So somebody is in a position to reach out to you. And I have to tell you, when we were setting up my the little website where I could refer people over to your service, because I think it is fantastic. Andy made a call, and I don't know, it was the next day or later that day. Your support was already on. We were already figuring things out. One guy showed up and said, "Oh, we already figured it out. We don't need it more." But the support is there, and so you can see that there's a culture that is that understands the vision. And to me, it was pretty clear. And I'm a big culture freak, so I really appreciated that. And I think that's something that speaks volumes, especially when breaking into an industry or creating your own category. I can't wait to hear. Is this thing you talked about earlier, the what was it called that you said, the big
benchmarking as a service?
Yeah, has that been used before?
Not that I'm aware of. The as a service seems to be the big cliche now. This is just our spin on software as a service. Benchmarking as a service is the concept.
Yeah, I freaking love it. I think
So Russ, it's all about that BAS,
There you go.
benchmarking as a service.
The best. There you go.
there you go. Yeah, I love it.
This is why your wife and my wife can't talk. We're both too corny for.
Well, somebody's got to keep the dad jokes going.
Absolutely.
Well, let me break into my database, and I can get some more.
Jamie, you were asking earlier about what size business.
Mhm.
Really, the lower end threshold is about $500,000 in revenue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once you get below that, there's probably not enough negotiable operating expenses to make it worth the time. There is no upper limit, although realistically, I like to say SMBs, because realistically, once you start approaching $1 billion in revenue, companies tend to have a lot of bureaucracy, people with job titles around procurement and egos, or maybe access to data because they have the checkbook to afford it. But there's this huge middle ground, and it could be a solopreneur who has enough expenses. It could be a company with 5 or 10 or 500 employees. But that's where there's a real opportunity to move the needle for these companies. And optimally is they don't do anything preferential. A client is a client, and they get full attention regardless.
That's fantastic. Is there any industries or any areas that you're seeing, whether it's software or internet or something like? Is there any more specific areas that that you see are maybe paying more than they should be?
You talking about from an expense category perspective?
Yeah, from a business owner's expenses.
No, I mean there are obviously the ones that are just the low hanging fruit, right? I mean everybody has telecom expense, everybody has internet expense, everybody has insurance. So those tend to be the ones that are most talked about. But I mean, it's everything from, what you're paying for waste, what you're paying for those folks to come pick up and empty your trash receptacles. It's, your copiers. It's literally every expense we can benchmark. And if you're best in class, we're going to come back and tell you you're best in class. Congratulations. You just helped set the bar for millions of other businesses in our benchmarking. But we look at everything, every single expense category. Now, there's a couple we don't look at. We don't get into payroll. We don't tell people what they should be paying their employees. We feel like that's not our job, and I don't want to get into telling people what they should be paid.
That's good. That's a good thing to point out. Any potential in the future for personal BAS?
It's not our focus right now. I'm a B2B guy at heart, so I'm gonna stay in my lane. And I think the last time we checked, there's 30 million small and medium-sized businesses in the U.S. So we still got some work to do there.
Oh, that's fantastic. Fantastic. Well, Andy, Russ, we're approaching the half hour here, and I want to respect your time. How do people get in touch with you to learn more about this?
There's a couple of ways. I think, Jamie, you've got contact info that you can put in the show notes. And
I do.
There's also a dedicated webpage, which I see you have on the screen now, where somebody who'd like to get more information can go there, and there's a quick contact us form, and somebody will get in touch with them rapidly. I'm also more than glad to connect with anybody who's got questions by email, on the phone. Hit me up at the local brewery, whatever. There's a lot of them here, so you'll have to look around a little bit. And I think the best thing people can do if they have interest is check your show notes, hit me up on email or on LinkedIn. And really, this is not a high-pressure sales kind of a business. This is a collaborative, consultative, conversational sort of a proposition. If it fits, if you're interested, if we can help, more than glad to have that conversation. If for some reason now's not the right time, that's fine too. We're really all about being helpful where there's a need and a desire.
Yeah, it's been a great partnership between Andy's business and our business. We want to focus on building the technology and delivering the savings and value to the client. We're going to let Andy do the heavy lifting of standing out in front and waving people down and bringing them in. But it's been a fantastic partnership, and Andy has been a great asset and just a great human being, which is refreshing as well.
Yeah, it's good that you guys have been able to find the relationship. Oftentimes, that's one of the biggest challenges, and we see it here at Bottleneck. We didn't really take off until we found somebody that we really meshed with, who could be that person that's guiding and holding the torch, and sharing the torch with others. So I'm really stoked for you guys, and Russ, great job on coming up with the concept. And I wish you all the best for that. Is there anything else either of you would like to say before we wrap?
Just remember, if you're overpaying something above best-in-class prices, which is likely, let us help you figure out how to kick that in the bass and make an improvement.
I can't follow that. What he said.
It's one thing I'm taking away from today. It's we're going to kick it in the bass is what we're going to do.
You better trademark that, Jamie, real quick before somebody takes it.
Kicking bass and taking names. That's what we're doing. Well, Russ and Andy, thank you so much. Can you hold on one brief moment, and I'll go ahead and wrap us up? All right.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm so happy. I hope you guys get a chance to check this out. Go to bottleneck.online/optimally. You can find out all about Russ's work there at Optimally and talk with Andy. Andy will get you connected. You can find Andy on LinkedIn at Andy Charles Expense Reduction. You can also send him an email, Andy.Charles@Central Avenue Advisors, as he is the owner of Central Avenue Advisors. And Russ Lindmark is who we were talking with, who's the founder of Optimally. Again, really, really, really cool program. If you're wanting to reduce the cost of your expenses, just don't know how to go about doing it, call Optimally. Reach out to those guys. Better yet, go visit them at bottleneck.online/optimally and get your prices reduced. Guess what? It doesn't cost anything. So I can't recommend it enough. Again, want to say thanks to them. If you want to learn more and see more episodes just like this one, hundreds of more episodes, you can go visit bottleneck.online/TV. That will redirect you to our YouTube channel where we do live with Bottleneck. And do all kinds of fun stuff on that channel, custom sneakers that we had made, some crazy stuff, but we also do a lot of stuff that is going to help stop the bottleneck in your business. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And if there's anything else we can do, please feel free to reach out so that we can help you stop the bottleneck in your business. Again, my name is Jamie J, CEO and founder of Bottleneck Distant Assistance. A special thanks to Andy Charles and Russ Lindmark of Optimally. Hope you have a great one, and we will talk to you again really soon. All right, remember, one last thing, create your own ripple.